Rita McGrath here, and I'm going to offer a short explanation of the Innovation Mastery Assessment that we've developed at Valize, which helps you figure out where your issues with innovation lie, what to do about them, and what to do next. The process consists of an online survey that you can fill out, and you'll get a customized report and a meeting with myself and the team to debrief it. So let's walk through what it looks like. So a thorny question that a lot of my clients are curious about is, how do you master innovation? And the core problem there is that your little tiny innovations, the next big thing, start out as really, really small things, and they get out of balance with the heft of the core business. They have no power, they have no resources. A lot of times people don't know what to do about them. And this is nobody's fault. It's that if you've had a successful business for a really long time, it's hard for innovations to make their way through to the decision-making and governance bodies that are needed. So what this mastery assessment does is it gives you some clues about some very simple artifacts that represent the establishment of better innovation mastery. So it starts off with understanding where you stand on what we call the Innovation Mastery Scale. So if you're a 1, you're like a regulated utility, and your sales and marketing and innovation functions are all dedicated to operating exactly the way that you have forever. And there's nothing wrong with that, but if you're in an environment that's demanding more innovation, that's demanding more change, that's demanding that you transform, as we all are in the waning days of this pandemic, you really need to move up the scale. So after complete bias towards exploitation, what you often have is a period of what I'll call innovation theater. So we send everybody off to Silicon Valley, we ride around on the Google bikes, and that's awesome. And then we come back to, Topeka or Duisburg or wherever we are, and everything's the same. So we need to begin now putting in place better processes. As you move up the scale, what you start to see is more innovation, but very often in pockets or opportunistic as experiences present themselves. As you get up the scale, as your processes really get more mature, what you find now is innovation proficiency beginning to develop. And that shows a certain level of mastery of it. And when you finally mastered it, that's, you're regarded as a leader in your industry or your category. Competitors are wondering, how do you keep coming up with all that stuff? And it's a pretty good place to be from the perspective of learning to do new things. So how does it work? You provide the contacts and what criteria you would like the outputs to be sorted in. So typically it'll be something like function, level, geography, organizational region, those kinds of things. You tell us that and we'll customize it for you. You tell us who you want to get the survey. So you send us their emails. We don't do anything else with them. We just use them for the survey. We send them an email invitation. They get the results. They get the responses. Once we've collected enough responses, we put together a personalized report, and then we meet with you to talk about what we found. And then we determine what the next steps are that you'd like to take to mature your innovation proficiency. So the first insight you'll get is know where you stand, right? Are you a level 1, a level 4, somewhere in between? And that's in itself very, very useful. So let me walk through a set of sample results that we got from an actual client that we did this with. So we tell you how many respondents you had. Then we start to tell you, okay, who responded from the different subgroups that you want. And in this case of this particular client, they had group executives, other executives, some additional team members, and their board of directors actually filled this out. And the first thing that we observed when we collected the responses was they were all over the map. There was one guy literally on the board of directors, so our innovation process is awesome, we're an 8. And there were a lot more people who were like, not 2, maybe 3 at best. But that level of dispersion, by the way, indicates something. It tells you that you don't really have widely understood and shared processes for innovation. The next thing we did was we probed in between the respondent groups. And what we found was a lot of dispersion, right? So even within one group, you had some people responding, in the 1, 2, 3 range, and others responding at a much higher rate. And what that tells you is you probably want to be more skeptical about claims that you really cracked this innovation program. So here are a couple of the questions that we asked. Could you describe your organization's innovation system? And in the case of this particular company, 86% of people said, actually, no, we don't even know how we would describe it. So if you can't even talk about it, that's a pretty clear sign that it doesn't really exist. We asked them, is there time set aside for dedicated reviews of innovation programs? And in this particular company, only 15% of the respondents said, yep, we have a regularly scheduled meeting and senior leaders attend. But the bulk of people said no. 85% of people said, those meetings happen maybe a little sometimes, but they're sort of haphazard and they're not really what people are paying attention to. We asked how difficult would it be to get a little bit of money, a little bit of capital to experiment with new ideas. And in this particular company, 66% of people said, we don't know. It's haphazard, it's unstructured. There's no sort of systematic process for doing that. Similarly, they said it's really hard to pull resources from a successful business in order to fund more uncertain opportunities. Really a challenge for them, as you can see. And basically that tells us the funding system's unreliable. And we know innovation doesn't work well when it's on again, off again, maybe this year, maybe not next year. You just can't build something that lasts out of that kind of basis. How important is innovation to your own performance metrics and compensation? Well, in this company, 73% basically said it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And obviously, if you don't reward people for doing innovative things, or it doesn't even matter to their compensation, you really can't expect them to spend much time working on the new things. So this is all part of a larger system, which we call the Spark Hub system, which operates at two levels. At the level of the mothership, or the level of the organization, we have activities that we undertake to put in place, for example, a governance system, a systematic funding system, work plans around getting senior leaders aligned about what this has to do. And then at the level of the business operations or the project system, we have project coaching, where we use world-class techniques like discovery-driven planning and reverse income statements to help their teams really figure out what's material and what's working. And then we have a lot of capability building that we do. So that would be training, it would be online courses, it would be courses designed as you learn. So this assessment is really, can be part of a larger innovation capability development system. It doesn't have to be, you can just stop with the assessment, but if you want to use it as a point of departure, figuring out where you stand, it's a pretty good place to begin. So what you want, right, is you want that better balance between the new, cool future things and the existing weight of the core business. And that's what we're hoping to get you to move toward. So thank you. Myself and my partner, Ron Boar, would be happy to discuss this with you if you have an interest. So to reach us, reach out at our Valize email. So it's rita@valize.com, Ron at Valize.com, and visit the website. We've got lots of other resources there, including other videos, ideas that you can use, downloadable documents, and a whole lot more. Thank you.